So, have you ever had a quiet moment and realized that you don't really know what you're feeling or thinking? Or maybe you have felt pulled in 100 directions and lost touch with what you actually want or believe. That is pretty common, right? Life gets noisy, outside and inside, and sometimes we stop listening to our own inner voice, the one that knows what is true for us deep down. And when we are out of tune with ourselves, it's like trying to follow a GPS that is broken. We end up lost, confused, or just going through the motions without real meaning. But when we learn to listen to that inner voice, it's like reconnecting to our personal compass. It helps us make choices that feel right, stand up for what matters, and we live more authentically. So in this lesson, we are going to explore how to get more in tune with yourself so you can hear that voice clearly and let it guide you towards being your true self. By the end of this lesson, the goal is for you to feel more connected to your inner voice and understand how that connection can help you live more authentically every day. So we will start by taking a look at the definition of what it truly means to be in tune with oneself. Then we will see why it enables authentic living. Then we will see the key aspects of it. After that, we will look at the practices you have to do to listen to your inner voice. And finally, the workbook exercises will help you listen to your inner voice better. So being in tune with yourself means developing an honest, ongoing relationship with your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, intuitions, and desires. It is the ability to hear your inner voice beneath the noise of external pressure and to trust its wisdom. The self-connection is not about being self-absorbed, but self-aware. So you can make choices that reflect who you truly are, rather than who you think you're supposed to be. Authenticity begins with deep self-awareness, tuning into your body, emotions, and inner wisdom. When you are truly in tune with yourself, you are grounded in your own truth, guided by your intuition, and aligned with your deeper needs. By listening to your inner voice, you cultivate a life that is true to who you are. And one of the most powerful signs of being authentic is being deeply connected to yourself. And when you are in tune with yourself, you move through life with clarity, presence, and inner alignment. You are no longer lost in noise or external distractions. You know how to listen inwards and trust what you hear. So being in tune with yourself is the foundation of living authentically, because you cannot express your true self if you don't know who your true self is. But when you regularly listen to your inner voice, the quiet guidance beneath fear, doubt, or external noise, you begin to make choices that align with your real values, not just what is expected of you. It helps you distinguish between who you truly are and who you have been conditioned to be. And this self-attunement gives you the clarity and confidence to act with integrity, speak with honesty, and live in a way that feels genuinely authentic. Without it, authenticity becomes guesswork, but with it, it becomes a lived experience. When you are disconnected from your body and inner guidance, you risk living a life of distraction, misalignment, and subtle self-abandonment. You may find yourself overcommitting or overperforming in a way that numbs the deeper discomfort of being out of touch. And authenticity begins with presence. It begins with listening. And the more connected you are to yourself, the more you hear your gut, your needs, your limits, your desires, the more naturally you live a life that is real, grounded, and truly yours. So now we're going to have a look at what the key aspects of being in tune with yourself are. So the first one is trusting your intuition. So your intuition is your internal compass, guiding you through decisions, relationships, and life's many twists and turns. Authentic people listen to their intuition and trust its wisdom, even when it doesn't seem logical. And it may come in the form of a gut feeling, a hunch, or an instinctive knowing, and this should never be ignored. Your intuition is a subtle but wise guide. It often speaks through gut feelings and sudden clarity or bodily reactions. And when you're authentic, you don't silence them. You pause, feel, and follow. So for example, let's say that you meet someone and immediately feel uneasy. even if everything seems fine on the surface. So instead of brushing it off, you honor that feeling and maintain boundaries. Here are a few more examples of trusting your intuition. Let's say you were offered a new job with great salary, but something about the company culture feels off. And even though others say that it is a dream opportunity, you decide to trust your gut and decline, later learning the turnover rate is extremely high. Or for example, during a conversation, you may sense a friend is hiding something, so you gently check in with them, and they open up about something they have been struggling to express. Or let's say that you are apartment hunting, and you walk into a space that just feels right, even if it's not perfect on paper, and you choose it, and it ends up being a supportive, peaceful home for you. The next aspect is being aware of your body's signals. So your body is constantly communicating with you through tension, fatigue, discomfort, and energy. And when you are connected to yourself, you pay attention to these signals rather than ignoring them or pushing through. Chronic discomfort can be a sign that you are out of alignment with your truth. The body holds intelligence. Tightness in the chest, headaches, exhaustion, restlessness. These are all clues. And when ignored, they can become chronic. But when listened to, they guide you home to yourself. So for example, maybe you feel a pit in your stomach every Sunday evening, and instead of numbing with distractions, you get curious. Maybe your job no longer aligns with your values. Here are a few more examples of being aware of your body's signals. So let's say that you get a tight chest and shallow breath every time you're around a certain person. You recognize this as a body signaling discomfort, and you reflect on whether the relationship is healthy. Or maybe after eating certain foods, you feel foggy or irritable, and then you would start tracking these patterns. Change your diet to feel more clear and energized. Or maybe you notice that every time you say yes to something you don't want to, your stomach notes up, and then you would begin to use that signal as a cue to pause before committing. The next aspect is quieting external noise. So in a world full of distractions, from social media to societal expectations, it can be difficult to hear your inner voice. Authentic living requires the ability to silence the noise and make space for what is real within you. Disconnecting from external influences and taking time to be alone allows you to reconnect with your true desires. Productivity stages and material success are all often glorified, which can drown out your deepest self. But authentic living invites you to drop below the surface and ask what feels true to you. So for example, instead of chasing a promotion that would impress others, you would choose to take a sabbatical to explore what really fulfills you. And here are a few more examples of quieting external noise. It would be you logging off social media for a week and realizing how much of your decisions were influenced by comparison or fear of missing out. It would be you spending time alone in nature and feeling a clarity about your priorities that had been buried under daily distractions. Are you stopping to ask 5 friends for their opinion before making a decision, and instead sitting with yourself, discovering what you actually want? The next thing to do is to honor your first reaction. So the first reaction you have to a situation often holds more truth than what follows. Overthinking or second-guessing can drown out your instinctive wisdom. Being authentic means learning to trust that initial response, whether it's a strong yes or no, before other voices or concerns enter the picture. Your initial reaction is often your most honest one. It hasn't been filtered, polished, or shaped by social pressure. Being authentic means trusting that raw moment before overthinking sets in. So for example, let's say that you are asked to take a new responsibility and your body immediately tenses and you feel resistance. Rather than saying yes to please, you pause and express your hesitation. Here are a few more examples of honoring your first reaction. So let's say that someone invites you to a business partnership and your first instinct says no, but your mind begins rationalizing why it might be a good opportunity for you. But you would still honor that gut no and later learn the person had a reputation for being unreliable. Or let's say that you are offered a last-minute trip. Your immediate reaction is excitement and lightness. So you say yes and you end up having a deeply refreshing experience. Or let's say that the conversation feels slightly off. Your gut senses something is unspoken. You ask a gentle, open-ended question that reveals a deeper truth. The next aspect of being in tune with yourself is to let stillness guide you. True authenticity emerges from a space of quiet presence. It's not about constant doing or external validation. It's about simply being with yourself in moments of stillness, whether it's through meditation, breathing, or just sitting in silence. These moments help you tune into your inner wisdom. Authenticity is not found in constant busyness. It is in the quiet moments, the breath, the pause, the stillness, where you reconnect with your deeper truth. So for example, let's say that you build in quiet space each morning to journal, meditate, or simply sit, giving your inner voice room to speak. Here are a few more examples of practicing presence and stillness. It would be you starting your day with 10 minutes of silence, just breathing. This would help you feel grounded before checking your phone or email. It would be you sitting quietly after work before rushing into evening plans and realizing that you are emotionally exhausted, so you would choose to rest instead. Or it is you going on a solo walk with no podcast or distraction and coming home with a new insight about a problem you have been stuck on. The next aspect is to listen to your emotional guidance. Your emotions are not just reactions, but also indicators of what is true for you. Anger, sadness, joy, and fear all have something valuable to communicate. Instead of suppressing or ignoring them, authentic people pay attention to their emotional states as a source of information. For example, let's say that you feel a sudden burst of irritation when a colleague asks you to take on extra work. And instead of brushing it off or suppressing the emotion, you would explore why it surfaced and realize that you have been taking on too many responsibilities and not honoring your own boundaries. So here are a few more examples of listening to your emotional guidance. Let's say that if you would feel heavy and sad on Sunday nights, you would explore this and again realize that your job no longer aligns with your values. Or if you would feel angry during a meeting, instead of brushing it off, you would reflect and realize that a boundary was crossed. Or if you feel joy and lightness when mentoring younger colleagues, then you would begin to pursue more work aligned with that passion. The next key aspect is to let go of perfection. Being in tune with yourself means accepting that you are a human being, not a perfect version of yourself. Authentic living embraces the imperfections, the messiness, and the beauty of being human. You allow yourself to be a work in progress and trust that each moment offers a new chance to realign. For example, let's say that you make a mistake at work and feel embarrassed. Instead of beating yourself up, you choose to learn from it and move on, knowing that making mistakes is part of the growth process. Here are a few more examples of letting go of perfection. It would be, for example, you launching a project, even though it is not perfect, but knowing that it will grow through action and feedback. It would be you showing up to an event without feeling 100% confident and people connecting with your honesty and vulnerability. Or it would be you forgiving yourself for a mistake rather than spiraling into self-criticism, choosing instead to learn from the experience. And finally, being in tune with yourself is aligning your actions with your inner truth. Once you are attuned to your inner voice, your actions naturally reflect your authentic self. You make choices that resonate with your core values, desires, and beliefs, rather than living in response to external pressures or expectations. So for example, maybe you have realized that you value simplicity and connection over material possessions, and as a result, you would begin to declutter your life, donating items you no longer need, and focusing on spending quality time with loved ones instead of accumulating more things. Here are a few more examples of aligning your actions with your inner truth. So for example, you would realize deep down that you want to become a writer. So you would begin writing 20 minutes every morning before work, honoring your passion. Or you would recognize that a relationship is draining your energy. So even though it's difficult, you would choose to walk away to protect your well-being. Alright, so now we are going to have a look at the things you can do to be more in tune with yourself. So you can start by creating daily quiet time. So setting aside 5 to 10 minutes each day to sit in silence or meditate, or letting your thoughts settle and simply observe what arises without judgment. This helps clear mental clutter and make space for your intuition to arise. Then you can practice body awareness. You can do that by checking in with your body throughout the day and ask, what am I feeling in my body right now? Notice tension, your breath quality, your posture, fatigue, and use your sensations as guidance. So for example, tension might signal stress or misalignment. Then you can journal regularly. Write freely about how you are feeling and what decisions you are facing. Ask yourself intuitive questions like, what do I truly want here? Or what is my gut telling me here? And let your inner voice speak without editing or overthinking. Then you can use the first reaction test. So pay attention to your initial gut response when faced with a decision. And before you rationalize or ask others, sit with that first instinct. Even just acknowledging it can bring clarity, even if you choose otherwise. The next thing to do is to notice emotional cues. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? See anger, sadness, or joy not as problems, but as messengers, and validate your emotions instead of suppressing them. The next thing to do is to minimize external noise. So take regular breaks from social media, news, and other loud influences. Avoid over-consuming advice or opinions when making personal choices, and protect your time and space to hear your own voice. The next thing to do is to engage in intuitive activities. So here, practice things that connect you with your intuition. For example, drawing or creating without a plan, walking in nature without a destination, or listening to music and noticing how it moves you. These nonlinear experiences strengthen intuitive listening. The next thing you can do is to set boundaries that support inner clarity. Say no to things that drain you or pull you away from self-connection. Protect your energy and time like valuable resources, because they are, and prioritize people and activities that help you feel grounded. Then reflecting on past experiences also helps you be more in tune with yourself. So think about times you did or did not listen to your intuition. What were the outcomes? What did you learn? This reinforces trust in your inner signals. And finally, follow small inner nudges. So don't wait for a big sign. Notice small instincts or curiosities and try acting on them. Call someone you are thinking about. Explore a new hobby that caught your interest. Or take a different route home if you feel like it. Alright, so now it's time to grab your workbook and do several exercises that will help you listen to your inner voice. So the first exercise will help you think about a situation that have called for you to trust your gut. The second exercise will help you become aware of how your body usually tells you when something is wrong. The third exercise will invite you to create more silence and stillness in your life. The fourth exercise will help you think about a situation where you ignored and honored your first feeling. The fifth exercise will help you think about small moments of stillness you can bring into your daily life. The sixth exercise will invite you to think of a recent emotion you did not listen to deeply enough. The seventh exercise will invite you to let go of perfection by making you think of when you actually expect perfection instead of realness. The eighth exercise will help you think of one action you could take this week that aligns with your truth. And the last exercise will help you explore how tuning into your intuition and inner guidance can lead you to more honest, aligned, and meaningful choices in your life. After that, you will find a checklist that will help you explore practices you can do to deepen the connection with your inner self. And finally, you will find a guide to listen to your inner compass. So this guide will help you connect with your inner voice through awareness, self-inquiry, and embodied presence, and it will let guide your authentic actions. And finally, if you had any aha moments during this lesson, don't forget to write them down on page 8 of the workbook.